now. So Jon Angin is the Vice President of Agilyx, and I'll let Jon tell you the rest. Thank you, Jon.
Thanks, Doug, for that introduction. It's certainly an honor to be here speaking to a group that's so committed to making a difference in how we handle waste plastics now and in the future. We've heard a lot already today a lot about the importance of managing plastics in a dynamic global environment. And certainly reduction, reuse, and recycling are at the forefront of those efforts. But what about the plastics that really have no other home? Plastics that can't be managed more effectively otherwise. As we get more and more advanced with new and more complex materials, there are some plastics that are problematic and may need to be addressed more effectively using conversion technologies, and that's kind of where Agilyx comes in. So let me tell you a little bit about our approach to this challenge at Agilyx, starting with a short video that describes our technology and our process.
2 trillion pounds of waste plastic currently sits in U.S. landfills. Historically, the United States has exported another 4.3 billion pounds of waste plastic a year. Meanwhile, global demand for oil is expected to increase 50% by 2035. Thankfully, Agilyx already has a proven solution. Our Generation 6 system is a next-life solution for waste plastic that is focused on the highest and best use for today and the future of our planet. It converts difficult-to-recycle plastics into high-grade synthetic crude oil. Agilyx is the industry's first continuous feed and self-cleaning waste plastic solution. Each Agilyx system can produce nearly 4 million gallons of crude oil a year, reducing our dependence on costly foreign oil and difficult-to-extract homeland reserves, while increasing regional energy independence with a substantially lower carbon impact. Agilyx also helps preserve valuable space in our landfills and creates local jobs. The end result is valuable petroleum products for our daily lives and a more sustainable future for our planet. Learn more at agilyx.com.
So since late 2011, we've produced and sold more than 500,000 gallons of synthetic crude oil made from waste plastic. We have 3 commercial scale plants in place and several more that are in the planning at various stages of the planning stage process. At Agilyx, our goal is to eliminate waste plastic as an inhibitor toward global zero waste initiatives. And we do that using a pyrolytic process, which creates hydrocarbon chains, ensuring that the plastic is reclaimed, reused, and repurposed to the highest level possible given the nature of the feedstock. We also have a strong investor base that believes in our mission and is actively supporting our technology growth and deployment. Our process is a next life. It used to be end of life, but I changed it. A next life story for plastics that might otherwise end up in a landfill or worse. Plastics for which economically viable recycling markets exist should and do generally move in that direction. And what we're left with usually are plastics that no one else wants. We have completed a full-scale third-party life cycle analysis which indicated that our process, compared to conventional forms of crude oil extraction, yields a favorable carbon impact story. With the Agilyx technology and other technologies like ours, we have the capability of turning low-value plastics into a variety of products, including transportation fuels, lubricants, chemicals, and fuels that can be used to generate electricity. We would never argue with a traditional waste hierarchy that demonstrates highest and best use, provided those options are available. What we typically see is plastic that simply doesn't qualify or isn't captured at those levels. And let me also make another important distinction, and that is that pyrolysis is not incineration. In fact, plastics to oil technologies are capable of recovering up to 5 times more energy than incineration on an MMBTU basis. Smaller scale to be sure, but much more efficient. We operate under the absence of air and transform plastics into hydrocarbon gases, which are then condensed into liquid form and ultimately create petroleum products. So where do we fit? Well, certainly we're a next life alternative for plastics that are outside of the economically viable range. We see a lot of commingled waste plastics embedded in municipal solid waste streams from our waste industry clients. Mixed waste plastics that are considered too contaminated to be further segregated. Difficult or expensive to recover packaging plastics, we might call them exotic plastics, which we're seeing more and more of all the time. Multi-layer film plastics, plastics that are unique to certain industries like automotive or electronics that require a lot of front-end processing. Clean specialty plastics is another area that we have more and more of a call for, and that is because in many cases we're able to create a higher value by transforming these types of plastics into fuel or chemicals. And certainly from an infrastructure perspective, Agilyx fits very well as a component of a larger integrated waste recovery system. So even with our best efforts at the recovery of plastics and other recyclables, there's still a gap that must be filled in order to achieve zero waste objectives. Conversion technologies have the ability to help address that gap. There is also a global movement toward local recovery and the recognition of waste as a resource that can be leveraged to create value. Conversion technologies used to feed local distributed systems with end products like fuels used for transportation, machinery, and to generate electricity have a very bright future. The prospect of integrating multiple technologies to address larger portions of the waste stream can get us even closer to zero waste objectives in global markets that we never imagined were possible previously. And while reduce, reuse, and recycle should always occupy the highest level of the waste hierarchy, conversion technologies like Agilyx are capable of adding incremental value by producing energy, chemicals, and fuels from plastics that would otherwise have been buried in landfills or incinerated. An integrated technology suite that we might participate might look something like this. A front-end sorting system with municipal solid waste as the entry point, rather than recyclables that have been pulled out and single streamed, and going after higher value recyclable materials and capturing those on the front end using a robust automated sorting system, which we would then sell in the commodities markets. Low value plastics could be transformed into fuels and other petroleum products using a plastic to oil system like Agilyx. The organic fraction of the waste stream is captured for processing in an anaerobic digestion system where methane is used to generate electricity or compressed natural gas for use in machinery and vehicles, and the digestate byproduct is used for compost. And maybe just for fun, we add solar as part of the energy park concept to create additional energy value. So we're all aware that waste plastic is considered a significant social and health issue in most developing countries. There's already a move to develop systems that change the market dynamics of plastics and waste in general. And integrated waste handling systems like this have the ability to capture more than 70% of the waste stream and create the kinds of end products that are desperately needed in these locales. So what if we could implement these integrated waste handling facilities to increase recovery and create new local jobs? And what if we could utilize conversion technologies to bring new energy sources to places that right now rely on importation of these resources? And what if we could leverage the economics of this model to create a new economy for low-value plastics? What if we could scale and integrate these technologies to minimize carbon impact and produce high-value end products? And what if we could change the paradigm so that waste plastic had a market value high enough to change consumer behavior? And what kind of an impact could we have by recovering post-consumer film plastic and sachet packaging on a global basis? Well, collectively, we have the experience, the insight, and the technologies to do all of these things right now. It's just a matter of leveraging the efforts of leaders like all of us to develop the next step of the strategy, which is the implementation. At Agilyx, we see ourselves as one component of the broader vision to effectively manage plastics in the environment and in an environment where we will continue to see new challenges. We can't ever stop innovating. There is no single solution, but by effectively assessing each unique situation and bringing creative ideas forward, we can have an impact that addresses the changing plastic landscape. Thanks very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, John. That, to me, I believe this industry and technology is a really big hope for the stuff that we can't capture today, the inventory that's out there that is not getting recycled very well. So without further ado, we have a new panel, and that panel is cities and states. And this relates to a bit of regulation and what some of the leaders are doing, and hopefully how you can see what maybe you could take home to your own community based on